So right after these lectures, I'm going to post this video on the Moodle, so please refer to it. So the first one, I'm going to go open website, and we need a database. The database always available library, and here is the database. Okay. So please pay attention to my lectures. Whenever you don't understand, right? So just raise your hand, or if you understand, please nod your head. That should be really appreciated for today. The database I'm looking for Mergent Online. It provides the financial data of each public company. So start with M, and I'm going to go Mergent Online. So we have a very strong security. So, right. I can get access to the first page of the Mergent Online. This search box asks you to put in the name of the company you are looking for. So today I'm interested in Starbucks. If you know the ticker markers, right, please feel free to use SBUX, but the name is okay, Starbucks. Okay. So it leads you to the first page of the Mergent Online. On the Starbucks, there are multiple tabs. Due to the lag of times, I would not go through the one by one. I want you to click the company financial because I'm looking for the statement of cash flow issued by the Starbucks for the last 15 or 10 or 15 years. Longer is better for your prediction or analytics. Okay. So what I'm looking for is the cash flow statement, and not the 5 year, 7 year, 10, 15 years is the longest, it's kind of longest observation period. And then hit the refresh. So once you hit the refreshes, you are able to see the 15 years cash flow statement produced by the Starbucks from the 2008. This is the first year of our observation period, 2008, and the latest cash flow statement is the 2020, last year's, right? So what I'm going to do, hit the download. So you are able to access spreadsheet. Are you on the same page? All right. So I don't need to worry about this. Okay. Okay, we got an Excel spreadsheet which contained the 15-year cash flow statement from the Starbucks. So for better analysis, okay, I'm going to remove the unnecessary empty columns like C, E, G, holding the control key. Please be sure to hold the control key and then hit the unnecessary columns like this. And right click, delete these columns, right? So we have a much better Excel spreadsheet which help us to analyze their cash flow. So for the education purpose, I'm going to use the simplistic approach. So we went through the very complicated process to calculate free cash flow. Start from the EBIT, take out the investment activity, and add back the amortization differentiation. Instead of using that approaches, I'm going to use the difference between the cash flow from the operating activity and cash flow from the investment activity. This difference is very similar to the free cash flows as this slide shows you, okay? So the difference seems to be very close to the free cash flows. I'm use the difference as a free cash flow for this lecture. So let's take a look at, let's find where is the net cash flow from the operating activity. So can you see the items in the cash flow statement of the Starbucks? So I found the line number 52, okay? So if you download the cash flow statement like this, the net cash flow from the operating activity is located at the line number 52. So I'm going to 52 and copy. and create the new Excel spreadsheet, go to the second columns, I will paste this. I use the special paste like a transport. So you copy the horizontal lines and you are able to paste it in the vertical lines, right? So this is the special paste. And let's find the net cash flow from the investment activity. Where is the net cash flow investment activity? Line number 65. So I'm going to copy and go to the Excel spreadsheet. Next to the net cash flow operating activity, I'm going to paste using the special transports. All right. So those numbers at the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet indicates the 2008, which is the first year observations in our data set. So 2008 was the first year and the 2009 was the second year, right? So I'm going to drag all the way up to 2022. So 2022, again, the latest observations. So I'm going to assign the 15 to the latest observations, right? So I want to do the shortest and to the largest. Please be sure to expand selection, right? So the oldest data located at the top of your data or your Excel spreadsheet. Meanwhile, the latest data generated from the 2022 located at the bottom of your spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm really curious about the 16, the first year of the future, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 2016, 16th year will be the 2023 this year, and 17 next year, 2025, 2026, and 2027. So we will forecast the free cash flow generated from the future, generated by these companies, right? So as Ron mentioned before, so we are going to use the regression analysis to forecast the future value of the cashes this company will generate. The first one, net cash flow from the operating activity. So what I'm going to do is I will drag from the A2 to the B16 and go to the insert tab. There is the scatter plot. Are you guys familiar with scatter plot? So scatter plot is the basic analytical graphical tools you can use. So my question is, do you see any patterns from this scatter plot? So what kind of patterns do you find? And then my first question is, so the horizontal line indicates the X variable and the vertical line means the Y variable. So X variable is kind of predictor and the Y variable is called the outcome variable. So using the predictor, you try to predict outcomes, right? So my question is, what these horizontal lines represent or indicate? So do you have any idea? Okay. So these numbers actually come from the first column of your Excel spreadsheet. Okay. I think you have your own answers, right? In order to save time, it is the passage of time. Okay, so the first year was the 2008, 2009, and 2010, all the way up to 2022, last year, right? So we have the 15 dots on the scatter plot. Each dot indicates the net cash flow from the operating activity. So Y variable means the net cash flow from the operating activity generated by the Starbucks. So please click any dot and hit the right click. Please add the trend line. So add the trend line, you can see the positive trend. So means there is the positive relationship between the X, the passage of time, and Y, the cash flow from the operating activity. So again, Starbucks is one of the great company and they got a great strategy competitiveness. That is evidence. If you have good strategy competitiveness, you are able to generate more cash from the operating activity as time goes on, like a Starbucks. All right. And I want you to add the equation on chart. Okay. So once you add the equation on chart, you are able to find the regression formula. So this formula is created by the regression analysis. Okay. So it's a big number, 356, 555. It is the slope. Okay, this is slope. Okay. And then you got some intercept. Intercept means the y value when x value is 0. That is the intercept. Anyway, you got a good formulas. It is the tools which allow you to forecast the future value. Okay, I will show you later. And then we have another one. So I'm going to drag 1 to 15 and holding the control key. Again, 1 to 15 and holding the control key. Okay, so I'm going to see the relationship between the passage of time and net cash flow from the investment activity. Go to the insert and then scatter plot. Hit the scatter plot. All right, like I did. So what can you see from this scatter plot? Do you see any trend? All right, so yeah, I have the same ideas as Nick and the other student who nod ahead. Thank you. So I'm click the any dots and add the trend line. So as you expected, you can see the negative relations between the time passages and then cash flow from the investment activity. So as you guys know, the investment activity like working capital, capital expenditure, anyway, yeah, you spend the cash, so there are always the negative signs before the numbers, right? So Starbucks, in order to support such a net cash flow from the operating activity, their strategic competitiveness, they continue to engage in or invest money into the R&D activity. So in the co-venture CEO, you guys spend a lot of money for the accuracy of your product, the learning capability, auto parking, and then mobility. These are the all investment in order to support your strategic competitiveness. All right, so the Starbucks did the same things in order to maintain the strategic competitiveness, continue to spend money for the investment like this. So I'm also curious about occasions, right? So as you expect, there is the negative signs before the slope. It is makes sense. So using the formulas, I will estimate the future cash flow from the operating activity and future cash flow from the investment activity. So the expected, like expected cash flow operating activity, okay. And expected investment activity, right? So what I'm going to do is equal. So here is the formula for the operating activity: 356, 555, 555 times the first year. So first year actually 2008, right? And then I'm going to add the intercept 660A17, right? So same things will apply to the investment activity. So it has a negative sign, 56531 times 56531 times the time, the first year, and minus 79190. All right. So I'm going to drag down all the way up down to the 20th year, right? And one more. So those values in the highlighted in yellow is the numbers we are actually looking for, because it is the estimated free cash flow from the operating activity and the investment activity by the Starbucks in next year, 2 years later from today, 3 years later from today, something like that. Okay. So these are all the numbers in the futures, right? We need a very reasonable assumption. So as I mentioned before, right, we need a growth rate of Starbucks. So what is the appropriate level of the growth rate? What is the appropriate growth rate for Starbucks? So Starbucks is not like the tech company. They grow 10%, 50%, right? And then they are not like very like U.S. Steel or the steel companies, they do not grow anymore, right? So they are still growing very fast. I believe 4% seems to be okay, but it really depends on your market research. If you are the real managers and analysts and investors in the futures, right? Please be sure to do a rigorous study to know better about the growth rate of the company you are interested in. But I'm going to give a 4% for the growth rate of the Starbucks, okay, based on the many information. And then what is the good or appropriate cost of capital of Starbucks? So Starbucks, they got a bunch of cashes and good reputation. They're less likely to be bankrupt anytime soon, and their creditability or credit rate is great. So it is corporate. So I'm going to give 7% at the moment, because the overall the 10-year Treasury bill and bond and the Fed rate is very high, so 7% seems to be okay at the moment. And another assumption you need to make is inflation, right? So now you guys all familiar with this. What is the most appropriate inflation rate? Because you know the reason why we have to know the inflation rate to calculate the real cash value. So not like the 1 or 2%, okay, but I don't think 6 or 7%. So again, I'm going to apply the 4% for the inflation rate, right? And this is the estimation. So there are always some variation in your prediction. So I will think about the best case scenario and the worst case scenario, 90%. Okay. So with these assumptions, right? So let's calculate the free cash flow. Free cash flow, okay. So I said that I'm going to use the simplistic approach like this. So free cash flow is calculated as a difference between the cash from operating from the investment activity. So operating plus and investment activity, all right? Because investment activity always have a negative signs. So the plus should be okay. All the way down. Again, this is nominal. And it is time to calculate the present value of the growing perpetuity. So you guys remember the growing perpetuity formulas, right? Divide just the free cash flow of the last year of the future, which is the 5th year of the futures, right? Divide by weighted average cost of capital minus growth rate. So this big number is the present value of the growing perpetuity, because the Starbucks will continue to generate cashes permanently, right? But the size of the cash they will generate every year will grow a little bit, like 4%. Mm-hmm. So that's the present value at the 5th year of the future. Okay. So it is the first year. It is straightforward. So using the nominal per cash, 1 plus inflation rate. But please be sure to put the dollar mark in order to fix the value. And the power per year. So can you compare the nominal free cash flow and the real free cash flow? Which is bigger? Which is the larger, right? Always, the nominal free cash flow is always larger than the real free cash flow when inflation rate is positive. So in Africa or some countries, they sometimes struggled from the deflations, right? But the US always have a positive inflation rate. So the nominal free cash value is always greater than the real free cash value. And then the last activity is the NPV. Okay, so these functions ask you to put the discount rate. So discount rate 7%. and cash flow. Okay. So this is the estimated just present value of the Starbucks, $122 billion, right? But as you guys know, the business is a social study, right? Social study requires a lot of assumptions such as growth rate, weighted average cost of capital, and inflation rate. So it is not a good idea to provide point estimate. Hey, your present value is this. It doesn't work, right? So in the social science, we always provide the interval estimate. Here is the lower limit and upper limit of our estimations. So maybe multiply the point estimate times the worst case scenario and point estimate times the best case scenario. All right. So the present value of the Starbucks will fall under the ranges from the lower limit and upper limit. All right. Okay. So then maybe the easiest approaches at the moment, right? So it is the intrinsic value. Intrinsic value can be different or same as the market value, but really depends on the assumptions, right? So once you have point estimate or this value, without this or with this, you can make totally different decisions, right? So the opinion study, again, the forward looking, the more the reference point you have, the better you can make a decision, good decision, right? Okay, are you on the same page? So this is if you are able to copy what I did during these lectures, right? So you will be given the 2 extra points. But last 1 extra point, please, right below the scale plot, provide 2 limitations you found. Okay, so what's the limitations, right? So one of the good examples, I would say that this cash flow based net present value method cannot be applied to the tech company, because tech company doesn't provide or doesn't create a strong cash flow. So if your business does not have a strong cash flow, you are not able to apply this method, but you may need to apply these different ones, right? Okay, so then maybe the good example of the limitations, but I want to hear your thought about the limitation of this methodology, right? Can you do that? Okay, good. So I'm going to stop the video.